March 12, 1960, 11:30 p.m. The back room of a social club in the Bronx, a poker game, high stakes. Bumpy Johnson had been playing for 3 hours, winning. Across from him sat Tommy Eboli, a Genovese family captain, 44 years old, 20 years in the life. Tommy was losing badly, down $18,000. He'd paid $8,000 already, cash on the table. But the final $10,000? Tommy pushed back from the table, lit a cigar, smiled. "Bumpy, I'm tapped out for tonight. I'll get you the rest next week." Bumpy looked at him. "The game's over, Tommy. You owe $10,000. Pay now." Tommy's smile widened. "Or what? You gonna kill me over 10 grand? Come on, Bumpy. We're both professionals. I said I'll get it to you. Next week, maybe 2 weeks. What's the rush?" Bumpy stood up, collected his winnings. The $8,000 Tommy had already paid, looked at Tommy one more time. "You have 1 week, $10,000. If you don't pay, there will be consequences." Tommy laughed, actually laughed. "Consequences? What consequences? You gonna break my legs? Send your boys after me? For 10 grand? Come on, I'm a made guy. You can't touch me, and you know it, so I'll pay when I pay, and if I don't?" He shrugged. "What are you really gonna do?" Bumpy said nothing, just walked out. But everyone in that room who knew Bumpy Johnson recognized that silence, that dangerous, calculating silence, and they knew. Tommy Eboli had just made a very expensive mistake. 1 week later, Tommy still hadn't paid. 2 weeks passed, nothing. 3 weeks, still nothing. Tommy was testing Bumpy, seeing if he'd back down, seeing if he could get away with it. And then, on April 9th, 1960, something happened that Tommy never expected. His priest called him. This is the story of how refusing to pay $10,000 cost a mobster $200,000. To understand what happened, you need to understand Tommy Eboli in 1960. He was wealthy, connected, powerful. He ran gambling operations, loan sharking, protection rackets. He had money, lots of it. The $10,000 he owed Bumpy? That was nothing to him, pocket change. He could have paid it easily, but he didn't want to, because paying Bumpy would mean acknowledging Bumpy's authority, would mean accepting that a Harlem gangster had power over an Italian-made guy. And Tommy's pride wouldn't allow it. So he refused, made excuses, delayed, avoided, and convinced himself Bumpy couldn't do anything about it. Because what could Bumpy do? Violence would start a war. The 5 families would defend Tommy. Going to authorities was out of the question, so Tommy thought he was safe, thought he could just ignore the debt, walk away. But Tommy didn't understand Bumpy Johnson, didn't understand that Bumpy's power came from creativity, from finding angles nobody else saw, from turning someone's strengths into weaknesses. And Tommy had a weakness he didn't even know about: his church. Tommy Eboli was Catholic, devout, went to Mass every Sunday at St. Anthony's in the Bronx, not for show, for real faith. His mother had raised him religious, made him promise to always support the church, always give back. Tommy took that seriously. He donated regularly, not huge amounts, a few hundred here and there, but consistent, visible. The parish knew him. The priest, Father Michael O'Brien, knew him. Tommy's family had been members for 30 years, and that connection, that visible, public, religious connection, that was Tommy's vulnerability. Bumpy discovered it through research, through asking questions, through his network. One of Bumpy's associates mentioned seeing Tommy at St. Anthony's every Sunday, without fail. Bumpy filed that information away, and when Tommy refused to pay, when Tommy laughed at the idea of consequences, Bumpy knew exactly what to do. April 5th, 1960. Bumpy visited St. Anthony's Church during the week. Quiet time. He asked to speak with Father O'Brien. They sat in the priest's office, small, modest, religious art on the walls. Father O'Brien was 58, Irish, kind, a good priest who genuinely cared about his parish. "Father, I'd like to make a donation, a large one, $50,000. Father O'Brien's eyes widened. "50,000? That's incredibly generous. May I ask what inspired such a gift?" "I believe in giving back," Bumpy said. "Supporting communities, building something positive. Your church does good work. I want to help." Father O'Brien was moved, grateful. This is extraordinary. We can do so much with this. Repairs to the building, programs for youth, aid for struggling families. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you so much." Bumpy pulled out a cashier's check. $50,000, made out to St. Anthony's Church, handed it to the priest. Then he said something that changed everything. "Father, I have one request. This donation? I'd like you to announce it, publicly, during Sunday Mass. But I don't want credit. I want you to say it came from Tommy Aboli." Father O'Brien was confused. "Tommy Aboli? But you're the one donating." "I know," Bumpy said, "but Tommy and I are business associates. This donation is being made in recognition of Tommy's commitment to the church, his family's long history here. Think of it as a gift in his honor, and I want him to be recognized for it. I want the parish to know that Tommy Aboli donated $50,000. Can you do that?" Father O'Brien hesitated. I suppose so, if you're certain. But won't Mr. Aboli want to know beforehand?" "He knows," Bumpy lied smoothly. "We discussed it. He's modest, didn't want to make a fuss, but I think the community should recognize his generosity. So please, Sunday Mass, announce it publicly. Give Tommy the credit." Father O'Brien agreed. "Of course, this Sunday. I'll announce it during the service. Thank you again. And please thank Mr. Aboli for his incredible generosity." April 10th, 1960, Sunday morning. St. Anthony's Church was full. 300 parishioners. Tommy Aboli sat in his usual pew, third row, left side, with his wife and 3 children. He didn't know what was coming. Father O'Brien stood at the pulpit. After communion, before the final blessing, he made an announcement. "Before we conclude today's Mass, I want to share some wonderful news. This week, our parish received an extraordinary gift. $50,000, the largest single donation in the history of St. Anthony's. This generous contribution comes from one of our own, a longtime parishioner whose family has been part of this community for generations, Tommy Aboli." The church erupted in applause. People turned to look at Tommy, smiling, congratulating. Tommy's wife grabbed his arm, squeezed it, proud. His children beamed. And Tommy? Tommy went white. Frozen, because he hadn't donated $50,000, hadn't donated anything recently, had no idea what the priest was talking about. Father O'Brien continued, "Tommy's contribution will transform our parish. We'll repair the roof, upgrade the school, create new programs for our youth. This is what faith in action looks like. This is what generosity means. Tommy, would you please stand? Let us thank you properly." Everyone was looking at him, waiting, expecting. Tommy had no choice. He stood, turned, waved, accepted applause, smiled, tried to look humble. But inside, his mind was racing. He hadn't donated anything. Someone else had. Someone had made a $50,000 donation in his name, and there was only one person who would do that. Who could do that? Bumpy Johnson. After Mass, people swarmed Tommy, shaking his hand, thanking him, praising his generosity, his faith, his commitment. Tommy played along, accepted the praise, but he was calculating, understanding. Bumpy had trapped him, publicly, perfectly, because now Tommy had a choice. Option 1, admit he didn't make the donation. Tell Father O'Brien there was a mistake. Tell the parish he's not actually generous, he's actually broke. Or worse, tell them someone else donated in his name, which would raise questions, suspicions, make him look weak, make him look like someone's puppet. Option 2, accept the credit, thank everyone, take the praise, and then never donate again. But that option had consequences too, because now the parish expected generosity from Tommy, expected him to continue giving, expected him to maintain the image of being the church's greatest donor. If he stopped, if he never gave again, people would notice, would wonder, would judge. Option 3 was the only real option, the expensive option, accept the credit, and then keep donating. Match the image, maintain the reputation, become the generous parishioner everyone now believed he was, which meant spending money, a lot of money, over time, to support a lie that Bumpy had created. Tommy drove home in silence. His wife was ecstatic. "Tommy, $50,000, that's so generous. I'm so proud of you." Tommy forced a smile. "Yeah, well, the church needed it." But as soon as he got home, he called his accountant. I need you to set up monthly donations to St. Anthony's Church, starting this month. $1,500 a month, maybe $2,000. Make it look consistent, like I've been doing this for years. The accountant was confused. Boss, why? You never donated that much before. Because I just got credit for donating $50,000, and now everyone expects me to be generous, so I have to be, or look like a fraud. Over the next 2 years, Tommy Aboli donated over $200,000 to St. Anthony's Church. Monthly contributions, holiday gifts, special fundraisers. He couldn't stop. Because stopping would raise questions, would make people wonder why the man who donated $50,000 suddenly became stingy. The parish loved him. Father O'Brien praised him constantly. The community saw him as a pillar, a model parishioner, a generous soul, and Tommy hated every dollar, every check, every public thank you. Because he knew this wasn't generosity, this was blackmail, this was Bumpy Johnson weaponizing charity, turning Tommy's own image against him, creating a financial prison built from public praise. 6 months after the initial donation, Tommy finally met with Bumpy. Privately, neutral location. Tommy was furious. You played me. That $50,000, that was you. You donated in my name, trapped me. Bumpy sipped his coffee. I made a charitable donation to a church in recognition of your family's long history there. What's wrong with that? You know what's wrong. Now I have to keep donating, have to maintain the image you created. It's costing me thousands every month. Then stop, Bumpy said simply. Tell the priest it was a mistake. Tell your parish you're not actually generous. See how that goes. Tommy's jaw clenched. You bastard, this is about the $10,000, isn't it? The poker debt? It's about respect, Bumpy corrected. You owed me money, refused to pay, laughed at the idea of consequences, asked what I could do. Well, this is what I could do. I turned you into the most generous man in your parish, and now you're stuck being that man, forever. Or until you admit you're a fraud. Tommy leaned forward. How much to make this stop? I'll pay the $10,000, plus interest, plus whatever you want. Bumpy shook his head. It's too late for payment. You made your choice when you refused, when you tested me, when you assumed I was powerless. Now you're learning. I'm never powerless. I just operate differently than you expect. You thought consequences meant violence. Instead, they meant charity. You thought I'd hurt you. Instead, I made you a saint, and saints have to keep giving. Tommy had one more question. How long? How long do I have to keep this up? Bumpy's answer was devastating. As long as you want people to respect you, as long as you want your family to be proud, as long as you want Father O'Brien to think you're a good man, which means forever, or until you're willing to destroy your own reputation by admitting the truth. Your choice. Tommy never admitted the truth, never told anyone that the original $50,000 came from Bumpy. He kept donating. Month after month, year after year. By the time Tommy Aboli died in 1972, he'd given over $400,000 to St. Anthony's Church. The parish honored him with a memorial plaque. Thomas Aboli, a pillar of faith and generosity. His family was proud. His children remember him as a charitable man, and only 2 people knew the truth. Bumpy Johnson, who'd weaponized generosity to teach a lesson about respect, and Tommy Aboli, who'd learned that sometimes the most expensive consequences are the ones that make you look good. Years later, Father O'Brien asked Bumpy about that first donation. Mr. Johnson, I always wondered, that $50,000 in Tommy's name, was that really from him? Bumpy smiled. Father, does it matter? The money helped people, fixed the church, supported the community, whether Tommy gave it willingly or I forced him to become generous. The result is the same. Good was done. And Tommy learned something valuable. Debts must be paid. If not in money, then in reputation. If not immediately, then over time. But always, eventually, with interest. Father O'Brien thought about that. So you turned a sin into a virtue. I turned pride into charity, Bumpy corrected. Tommy refused to pay $10,000 because of ego. So I made his ego cost him $400,000. And the church benefited. The community benefited. Everyone won, except Tommy's bank account. That's the legacy of the charity donation. Not the money, not the church, but the lesson that refusing to honor your debts doesn't make you powerful. It makes you vulnerable, and that the most sophisticated punishment isn't violence. It's forcing someone to maintain a lie that costs them everything. Tommy Aboli could have paid $10,000. Instead, he paid $400,000 because he underestimated the man who understood that generosity, when weaponized, is the most expensive trap of all. If this story moved you, subscribe. Drop a like if you understand that sometimes the best revenge is making someone look good. Share this with someone who needs to know that debts always get paid, one way or another. And in the comments, tell me, would you rather pay the $10,000 or maintain the lie for life? More legendary stories coming next. Don't miss them.